Hello, welcome back to the fifth and final session on script writing. I've got some work from me which I'm delighted to have, some lovely work come in. We have a scene with a character called Martin, and I can't see the other character because the photocopying is a bit on the wibble. But anyway, Martin has come back from Sweden, whoever wrote this, and I want to know what's been happening in Sweden, if things are the same as he's come back, what his expectations might be, and what happened in the scene that you're going to write before this scene. Because remember, you weren't writing them in order, you were writing out of sequence, which can sometimes be really helpful to give you ideas about cause and effect. So that was something about Martin, who's come back and is with his friend again, and he can go back to his same school, and that's all great. Or is it going to be, are his expectations going to be reached? That's one of the things that I want to know about that. And then we've got some lovely work here, some character notes on Harold and John Duke and Lindsay Sharp. These are really detailed, they're great, they're full of imagination. Harold is a young boy, 16, who he's funny, but he often gets into trouble at school. You know who you are, who's written this. I think it's great. But he has a secret life as a masked shoplifter. And in the scene that you've given me, he's visited by his dad. This is the first scene that you wrote, but again, it won't be the first scene of your script, because the scene that comes before this will be the first scene. So I'm interested to know who's going to be in that scene. Is it going to be Harold and Lindsay, or is it going to be John and Lindsay? And how does that affect the fact that John, the dad, has now come to see him? And what's going to be the upshot of all this? And then I've got two scenes from somebody who's writing for Alice and Ben, and then Alice and Josh. So the second scene that you wrote is Alice in the park with Josh, and Alice gives Josh a laptop, but that will actually be the first scene. So your little play starts off with Alice giving Josh a laptop. Wow, what's on it? Whose is it? Is it hers? Was it his? Is she returning it to him? Is it a present for him? What will it enable him to do? All sorts of questions about that, which is really exciting. To have questions, to prompt questions in your work is good. And then the second scene you wrote, you introduced Ben, who comes round to Alice's house and does in fact show her a phone, his phone. You should see this. And I want to know what's on it. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? How does it relate to the previous scene with the laptop? And how are you going to, what's the consequence further down the line, a year later, when you write your final scene? So I was delighted to get this work. And this session is all about editing and review. So what you should be doing this week is putting the three scenes that you've written in order, read them through and get other people to read them if you can, so that you can hear it, and decide if you want to make any changes. And your decisions could be based on things like, is the language for each character right? Do you want to expand anything? Do you need to fill any gaps in? Will your audience understand the time frame that these things happened as a consequence of things happening beforehand? I think sometimes it's useful to write out of sequence, because it can give you ideas, and it can connect things up for you in ways that you might not have thought of if you'd sort of started at A and worked on A, B, C, D. So think about that. It's a useful approach sometimes, to write out of sequence. Sometimes it's interesting to write the best scenes, the scenes that you really want to write, the exciting scenes, and then go back and think, okay, well, what led up to that? Oh, and get some great ideas that way. And then just generally, tips for writers, I think. Read. Watch films, listen to audiobooks. Do this for food for your imagination, I think, because when you read a book or listen to a book, you imagine the pictures in your head, don't you? Not so much when you watch a film, but still, films will give you ideas for plots and characters and language. So it's just good to immerse yourself, I think. The other thing is keep a diary, either a paper one, which I have to say I prefer, because you can stick pictures in, you can doodle, you can sort of always have it with you and it's always in one place. But you can keep it online, you can keep it on your phone if you like, writing down ideas, bits of overheard conversation, stuff that happened to you, ideas for stories and plots and so on. And if you can, try and write something every day, a poem or a description, or even something like all the things you can think of that are blue, just to get into the habit of connecting what's going on in your head to your hand and the page or the screen. And probably most importantly, don't be your own policeman. Don't tell yourself this is rubbish. Don't tell yourself this is no good. Don't tear it up and throw it away. Don't tell yourself you can't do it, because you can. And the more you do, the more ideas you'll have, and the more you'll be able to turn them into great stories or great scripts. Look for competitions as well. There are, just Google writing competitions, and see if anything takes your fancy, because they generally give you a brief. So they'll say, looking for short stories, about the environment or about, I don't know, technology or something. Okay, so that's it from me. I hope you have enjoyed this, and I hope you go on writing. So thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye.